This wisdom comes from us, from Searching for and Maintaining Peace by Father Jacques Philippe. Consider the surface of a lake above which the sun is shining. If the surface of the lake is peaceful and tranquil, the sun will be reflected in this lake. And the more peaceful the lake, the more perfectly it will be reflected. If, on the contrary, the surface of the lake is agitated, then the image of the sun cannot be reflected in it. It is a little bit like this with regard to our soul in relationship with God. The more our soul is peaceful and tranquil, the more God is reflected in it. The more His image expresses Himself in us, the more grace acts through us. All the good we do is a reflection of the essential good, which is God. Often, we cause ourselves to become agitated and disturbed by trying to resolve everything by ourselves, when instead we could remain peacefully before the gaze of God and allow Him to act and work in us with His wisdom and power. This is not an invitation to laziness and inaction. It is an invitation to act, even to act considerably, under the impulse of the Holy Spirit, which is a gentle and peaceful spirit. My name is Katie, and I am a St. Joseph worker working at Haven Housing. When I think back on what my service site, St. Anne's Place Emergency Shelter, taught me about a peaceful soul, St. Anne's, I think of a lesson I learned from my coworker, Sarah. Before quarantine, St. Anne's offered a combination of activities, tutoring, therapeutic groups, field trips, and family nights every day of the week. One of my responsibilities was to update the weekly activity calendar every Monday. When St. Anne's began quarantine, we had to eliminate all of our activities. It was painful to remove each activity from the calendar, not knowing when I could put it back up. I knew that the families relied on these activities to provide parenting respite, academic and extracurricular support, and structure. I felt responsibility and pressure to fix the problem immediately. I began making individual craft kits for children to use in their rooms. I made a playlist of children's workout videos for families to exercise together. I researched virtual tutoring options and trained our tutors to do so virtually. The more I worked, the heavier the responsibility to provide respite, support, and structure became. I was overwhelmed and clearly burning out. What could I be doing wrong? Clearly, I was working hard to love and serve my neighbors, but something was certainly missing. One day, I was supervising one of our tutors, Sarah, tutoring a 10-year-old resident named Molly. Molly was nearly 2 weeks behind in her distance learning, and I hoped that Sarah would be able to help her catch up. However, as I watched this tutoring session, I saw Sarah take 10 minutes at the beginning, talking, listening, and laughing with Molly. Instead of focusing on doing, Sarah was focusing on being. At that moment, what Molly needed was not a craft kit or an exercise video. She needed someone to just be with her. I realized that is what I was missing. In all this time relying on myself to do and do and do, I forgot that God calls me to be. After all, I am a human being, not a human doing. I love the image of my soul as a serene lake reflecting the beautiful image of God. What I love about this image is that it calls me to be someone, not to do something. When I'm wrapped up in my doing, I conjure a false truth. The world relies on me to mend all its wounds. All of my floundering and flailing, relying on myself instead of God, makes the waters of my soul rough and choppy. I cannot fully reflect God's image when the waters of my soul are churning with the unnecessary weight of the world. Throughout this year, I have learned over and over that in order to reflect God's image to a world in need, I need to be still, so God can work through me to bring outward justice and peace.